Assalamualaikum everyone, this is Migra A from Rehan School Korangi campus और आज मैं again CCM पर का टॉपिक है whatever a journey through indifference.
Hi, what's up?
Hi Maya, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How's your Monday morning going? I didn't. What's your other question?
Maya, my first question is what does the word whatever mean in every language?
Just checking on that for you. It's interesting that so many languages have different ways to say whatever, depending on whether you mean I don't care or just anything. Like in Spanish, lo que sea means anything but. Me da igual is closer to I don't care. In French, you've got peu importe for it doesn't matter versus n'importe quoi, which is basically saying something is nonsense or whatever in the dismissive sense. Languages are pretty specific about what mood you're trying to get across with just that one word. What made you curious about whatever today?
Okay, so my next question is how can whatever impress indifference?
This is a cool question. When someone says whatever to show they don't care, it's usually about the way they say it, really flat, like they're not putting any energy into the sound. But it's also what's missing, right? No enthusiasm, no curiosity, just nothing. Sometimes it's combined with turning away or avoiding eye contact, like they're signaling they've mentally checked out from the conversation. What about you? Why does that one word catch your attention?
Okay, so my next question is when do people usually use the word whatever?
People use whatever pretty often when they're annoyed or dismissive, like if someone's making a suggestion they don't want to follow, or during an argument when they want to shut down the conversation. That can also be a way of showing frustration, like when things aren't going their way and they want to signal they're over it. But weirdly, sometimes people use it as a filler word when they don't have an actual response, just to fill the space. Have you noticed people using it in different situations?
Okay, so my next question is can whatever
Take
have
your
both
time.
positive and negative meanings?
Actually, yeah, whatever can be pretty versatile. The obvious negative one is when it's dismissive or shows indifference, like when someone's annoyed or doesn't care about what you're saying. But it can also be positive, depending on how you say it and who you're talking to. Sometimes it's a laid back, casual way to say, I'm flexible, like we can do whatever you want tonight. Or even just a playful way to agree with someone without making a big deal about it. It's all about tone and context, really.
Okay, so my next question is how does tone of voice change the meaning of whatever?
I think you meant how does tone of voice change the meaning? And definitely, it totally changes everything. Whatever said in a flat, cold tone shows you don't care or are annoyed. But if you say it light and playful, like when you're just being easygoing with a friend about plans, totally different vibe. Same word, completely different message. What makes you curious about that? Have you noticed how much tone shifts meaning?
Okay, so my next question is how does tone of voice change the meaning of whatever?
Let me break that down. Tone makes all the difference with whatever. If it's flat or cold, it's dismissive, like you don't care or are annoyed. But say it lighthearted or playful, and it becomes casual, like I'm flexible, whatever works. Even sarcasm flips it completely. I bet you've heard people say, whatever in a way that means the opposite of indifference, right?
Okay, so my next question is why
Take
is
your time.
whatever sometimes considered rude?
That's a good question. Whatever can come across as rude mostly because it basically shuts down a conversation or which can feel pretty disrespectful. But honestly, it really depends on who's saying it to whom and how. Saying it to a close friend as a joke is different than hearing it from a stranger or someone in authority. It's one of those words where context is everything.
Okay, so my next question is why is whatever sometimes uh, no, okay. What emotion can be hidden behind the word whatever?
I think you're asking what emotions can be hiding behind whatever when someone says it. A lot, actually. People might say whatever when they're really hurt but want to pretend they don't care. Or be secretly annoyed but trying not to make a scene. Sometimes it hides disappointment or frustration. It's like putting up a wall to protect themselves up. What about you? Any thoughts on why people might use it when they don't actually mean it?
Okay, so my next question is how do teenagers commonly use whatever?
Teens use whatever in some really specific ways. It's almost like a default response when they're not really engaging with a conversation. Sometimes it's to show they're unimpressed, like their parent is giving them advice and they just respond with whatever. It can also be used as a way to create distance, like if someone's trying to connect but they're not in the mood. Have you noticed this in your friends or in how people talk at school?
Okay, so my next question is can whatever be used to avoid arguments?
Definitely. Whatever is often used to shut down an argument before it even really starts. It's like saying, I'm not going to engage with this right now. It can prevent escalation if someone's trying to bait you into a fight, whatever shuts them down by refusing to play along. The flip side, it can also make things worse if one person is genuinely trying to have a serious conversation and the other just keeps using it to brushing them off.
Okay, so my next question is how does whatever reflect a lack of interest?
Let me look at that for you. When someone uses whatever to show a lack of interest, it's the tone and the overall vibe that do the work. Super flat, no enthusiasm, maybe even paired with a shrug or avoiding eye contact. It pretty much says, I don't really care what you think, and shuts down connection. What about you? Do you think that's a clear sign to you?
Okay, so my next question is what is the difference between whatever and anything?
Good question. Whatever and anything might anything is neutral. Like when you ask, do you want anything? It means you're open to options. Whatever has a tone built into it, indifference, acceptance, or even annoyance. So if you say, I'll eat whatever you're having, you might actually want to try what they're eating, but whatever, I don't care what we do tonight shows you just don't have strong feelings about it.
Okay, so my next question is how can whatever show frustration?
When someone says whatever to show frustration, it's the way they say it, like the tone is tight and clipped. Sometimes they'll throw in an eye roll or a sigh to make it extra clear they're annoyed. It's like a verbal way of saying, I'm over this or I'm done with this situation. Have you noticed that? Take your time with that one. Go ahead. What? Um, Let me dig up how that's evolved. So the meaning's gone through a lot. Whatever started out as just meaning any at all way back in the 14th century. But it really became what it is today in the 80s and 90s, especially with teens using it to signal they didn't care about something. Clueless, the movie helped make it super popular as that classic teen apathy response. It went from meaning anything to pretty much meaning, I don't care what you say, and becoming a way to shut down a conversation. The slang use seems like the big shift from more neutral to dismissive, huh?
Okay, so my next question is, how has the meaning of whatever changed over time?
Wait, I think we just covered that one. The meaning started as any at all, but became dismissive around the 80s, 90s because of its use by teenagers, plus getting boosted by movies like Clueless. The shift was from a neutral term to basically, I don't care, or shutting down a conversation.
Okay, so my next question is, why do people use whatever instead of explaining their feelings?
Mm, that's a really good question. I think sometimes it feels safer to just say whatever instead of putting feelings into words. Opening up can feel vulnerable, right? When someone says, whatever, maybe they're trying to avoid an argument or protecting themselves from getting hurt. Or maybe they just don't have the energy or words to explain how they're feeling at that moment. Does that make sense to you?
Okay, so my next question is,
Take your
how
time.
does body language affect the meaning of whatever?
The biggest thing with body language and whatever is what's not there. Zero effort, no interest. People will literally shrug, roll their eyes, or look away when they say it. Tone definitely matters too. You can add sarcasm or annoyance to that word using nothing but your voice. But what's most telling is the lack of connection. It's like someone's mentally checked out during the conversation. What have you noticed when you've heard people use it?
Okay, so my next question is, how does body language affect the meaning of whatever?
Oh, we just covered that one. The biggest thing is what's missing. No eye contact, a shrug, the tone of your voice is flat. It shows that someone's either checked out from a conversation or really, really uninterested in whatever someone just said to them. Have you noticed any of that when you hear people use it? Okay, great to hear you're doing well.
Okay, so my next question is, what are some alternatives to the word whatever?
There are actually quite a few depending on what you're trying to say. If you mean I agree, you could say sounds good or sure. Okay, no worries. Like, so for alternatives to whatever, there are tons. If you just mean okay, you could say sure, all right, or sounds good. If you want to be more specific, like that's fine with me, you could actually say that. Or if it's dismissive, maybe just I don't care instead of the one word version. What's easier for you to say? All right, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, okay, so my next question is, How does whatever influence communication between friends?
It really depends on the friends and how close they are. If whatever is just part of how they rib each other, it might not means never hard to
अच्छा अच्छा.
stop using whatever in those situations. It can be a bit of a habit with them from some friend groups. But honestly, whatever can kind of shut down communication. It's like saying, I'm not really listening to you, or I don't value what you're saying without even realizing it. How do you think it changes conversations when someone keeps going back to whatever as their default response? What would your advice be to someone who used it too much with their friends? Nice.
Okay, so my next question is how does whatever hurt someone feelings?
I didn't catch the whole question. Just got how does before it cut out. How did whatever hurt someone's feelings? Oh,
Okay, so my next question is why is whatever often linked with teenage attitude?
the whole you what? I want to. That's a great goal. What do you want to be better at? I I didn't catch that. What did you say? You look at the kid. I love what?
Okay, so my
I
next
love
question
it.
is
I'll be
how
here
does
to.
culture influence the use of whatever?
That's a fascinating question. Different cultures actually handle indirectness and emotional display pretty differently. In some places, whatever might be pretty taboo because it comes across as aggressive or disrespectful. But in places where people are more reserved or value independence more, it could just sound normal. What do you think? I didn't I didn't quite catch all of that. What were you saying about getting something out of the way?
Okay, so my next question is can whatever show confidence in some situation?
That's an interesting way to look at it. It definitely can sometimes. If someone's getting pressure from others, but knows exactly what they want. Okay, I hear you're not going. Um, Let me know if there's anything I can clarify or anything you want to circle back to. Hey
Okay,
there.
so my next
What was that
question
odd
is how
about?
does repetition of whatever affect conversation?
When someone keeps saying whatever, it can really kill a conversation. It creates distance, signals disengagement, and pretty much shuts down any chance for a meaningful exchange. No one wants to keep talking to someone who's just shutting you down every time you open your mouth. Have you noticed that happening?
Okay, so my next question is what is difference between whatever and it does not matter?
Mm, that's a good one. Whatever is much more dismissive and has more attitude. It feels colder, like you just don't care about what someone said. When you say it doesn't matter, that can actually show consideration. Like, it doesn't matter to me what we do tonight. I'm happy either way. Whatever usually means someone's frustrated or doesn't want to deal with what you said.
Okay, so my next question is how can
I can
whatever end a conversation quickly?
It's like a conversational full stop. When someone says whatever, they're basically shutting down the conversation right then and there. No one wants to keep talking to someone who's just shut everything down.
Okay, so my next question is whatever always a sign of indifference?
Good question. Not all. Not at all. It actually has a few different meanings depending on the context and tone. It can signal annoyance or disinterest if you say it flatly, but sometimes it's just a filler word or means I don't really have an opinion either way. It's definitely more nuanced than just indifference. What made you curious about that particular angle? Yeah, that makes sense. Anything else you're wondering about?
Okay, so my next question is can whatever be misunderstood? Give an example.
Definitely. Imagine someone's sharing something important and you respond with whatever. They'd probably feel totally dismissed. But if you're just casually planning what movie to watch and your friend says, whatever, I'm up for anything, they're not trying to make you feel bad. It's really about how someone says it and the situation they're in. Have you ever had that happen to you? Been on either side of that?
Okay, so my next question
Take your
is how
time.
can using whatever impact relationship?
It can really impact relationships negatively if someone makes the habit of saying whatever. It comes across as dismissive and can make the other person feel unheard or unimportant, like their thoughts don't matter. It creates distance and trust can break down pretty quickly. But it can sometimes show confidence, especially if you just say whatever and move on to something else when someone's trying to gaslight or manipulate you. It really depends on how it's being used and whether people act. How many
Okay,
what?
so my next question is
All right.
what role does context play in understanding whatever?
Context is huge with whatever. If you're just hanging out with your friends and everything's casual, it might be like, whatever, that sounds good. But if someone shares something personal and you say, whatever, that's dismissive and hurtful. Tone matters too. Someone can say whatever in an angry, flat tone or a light, accepting tone. The situation and how it's delivered totally change the message.
Okay, so
Sounds good. Be here whenever you want to chat again.
so my next question is how does whatever reflect modern communication style?
I'm not sure I caught that correctly. Did you say Vodafone or Vodafile? I want to make sure I get the question right.
Yes, my question is how does whatever reflect modern communication style?
Let me check into that for you. Sorry, that search timed out. I'm not getting any results for Vodava. Did you perhaps mean another word or brand? I want to make sure I'm understanding your question correctly.
Okay, so my next question is how can you respond to someone who says whatever?
That depends on why they're saying it. If they're being dismissive, you could ask what they really mean. Like, do you not care at all about this? Or if it's casual agreement, you could just move on. If someone's using it too much, you could point it out. Like, it feels like you're shutting down the conversation, or when you say whatever, it makes me feel like you're not listening. What about you? How do you usually respond?
Okay, so my next question is whatever a lazy from communication why?
Sorry, can you say that again? I think I missed parts of that question. What did you mean by lazy form of communication, wife?
Yes, my question is whatever a lazy form of communication why?
Got it. Yeah, whatever can definitely be seen as lazy communication. It takes almost no effort. Instead of actually thinking about what you want to say or engage with someone's thoughts, you just throw up this one word barrier. It puts an end to conversation instead of keeping it going. What do you think about that?
Okay, so my next question is, how can you respond to someone who says whatever?
It depends on why they're using it. If they're dismissing what you're saying, you could call them out like, is everything okay? It seems like you're not really listening. Or if it's casual agreement, you can just move on. If someone's constantly using it, you could talk to them separately about how it makes you feel. What's your usual response?
ओके, थैंक यू सो मच एवरीवन। मिलते हैं किसी नेक्स्ट हिस्से के टॉपिक पर। तब तक के लिए अल्लाह हाफिज़।